Good afternoon, everybody. Across our country, millions of Americans struggle to afford essential medicines. Families are rationing prescriptions, seniors are skipping doses, and parents are facing heartbreaking choices between paying for medication or putting food on their tables. This is not acceptable in the United States of America. For decades, Americans accepted a fair deal in pharmaceuticals. A company earns a temporary monopoly for an innovative drug, and once the patent expires, cheaper generics enter the market. That system, established by the 1984 Hatch-Waxman Act, works for traditional chemistry-based drugs. Proving a generic is the equivalent is straightforward. If it's the same active ingredient, the same effect, same safety, it gets approved. But that bargain broke down with biologic drugs, medicines made from living cells. When Congress wrote the Biologics Price Competition and Innovation Act, the pharmaceutical industry rigged the rules. Between 2007 and 2009, Big Pharma spent hundreds of millions of dollars lobbying to make biosimilar approval far more difficult and expensive. They claimed that biologics were too delicate, that they were too mystical to allow true generics. They compared them during these lobbying sessions to fine wines. Each batch supposedly depended upon its unique grapes, the tannin content of its soils, the terrain, the humidity, the genius and personal touches of wizardry to achieve the unique aromatic and flavor complexity of its terroir. It was all clever marketing. None of it was based on science. Then, to block pharmacists and doctors from switching patients to lower-cost options, the lobby invented a fake distinction between biosimilars and interchangeable biosimilars. The result has been sky-high costs, endless red tape, and a biosimilar market that still lags far behind Europe's. It can cost hundreds of millions to us, the federal taxpayer, just to bring one biosimilar to American patients. That changes today. Under President Trump's leadership, we are ending this unscientific and corrupt system. We're cutting through the barriers that protect monopolies and opening the gates to affordable, life-saving medicine for the American people. One of the biggest drivers of these crushing costs is the price of prescription drugs, of course, and especially biologic drugs. These are complex medicines made, as I said, from living cells that treat cancer, autoimmune diseases, and rare disorders that affect millions of Americans. Biologics make up only 5% of our prescription, but they account for more than half of our drug spending. Between 2013 and 2021, our spending on biologics more than doubled, from $100 billion to $260 billion. By 2024, it reached $407 billion. Some biologics cost patients up to $500,000 a year or even more. That's not a healthcare system, it's a hostage crisis. Why are these drugs so expensive? Because for too long, government bureaucracy and regulatory barriers have protected monopolies and stifled competition. The FDA's outdated and burdensome approval process has slowed down the entry of biosimilars, the lower cost, equally safe alternatives to brand name biologics. And even when biosimilars do get approved, current laws often prevent pharmacists or patients from substituting them for the patients who would benefit from a more affordable option. That all ends today. Today, the FDA is taking bold, decisive action to break down these barriers and open the markets for real competition. The agency will release new draft guidance for companies developing biosimilars, guidance that reflects modern science and common sense. Under this new framework, companies may not always need to conduct large, expensive human trials when advanced testing can already prove that biosimilars work just as effectively and just as safely as the original drug. The FDA will also consolidate several outdated guidance documents into one streamlined rulebook. We're cutting unnecessary red tape, reducing uncertainty, and making it easier for innovators to bring the safe, affordable biosimilars to the market. These changes will also help ensure that more biosimilars are considered interchangeable, allowing pharmacists to substitute them just like they do with traditional generic drugs. The result will be more competition, lower prices, and faster access to life-saving medicines. And we know this approach works. Since 2015, biosimilars have already saved Americans over $56 billion, $20 billion in 2024 alone. On average, biosimilars cost 50% less than their brand name counterparts, and their entry into the market drives down brand name prices by another 25%. That's real relief for patients, families, and for the American taxpayer. But America still lags far behind Europe and other nations. In Europe, for example, regulators have approved more than twice as many biosimilars as the United States, and patients there are paying far less for many of these treatments. These reforms reflect President Trump's directive to restore competition, to empower patients, and lower drug costs for every American. This is a victory for patients, for innovation, and for common sense. We're replacing bureaucracy with science, we're replacing monopolies with competition, and we're replacing despair with hope. Every American, regardless of income or zip code, deserves access to affordable, effective, and safe medicine. The actions we're taking today move us closer to that goal and advance our mission to make America healthy again. Thank you all very much. And now I'd like to welcome the genius behind this innovation, FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty Makary. You come up to there you are, Marty.
Thank you.